Right. Hello, everyone. Um, we are starting our webinar today, information webinar for the Hindu Kush Himalaya Innovation Challenge for Entrepreneurs, or HKH-ICE, as we like to call it. And this webinar is pretty special because we're starting work in a region that's close to many of our hearts here in the team. And we've partnered with ICIMOD, so again, very close to the hearts of everyone who's been involved in this process. And I'm Shuchi Vora, and I work as head of learning, and I shall be taking you through most of this webinar today. And before we start, a few quick housekeeping messages. I know most of you now know Zoom, so if you have any technical issues, essentially, please reach out to Ida, who will be able to help you. This webinar is recorded, so hopefully you've got that message. You know that it's going to be shared. And please respect speakers who are speaking and generally be cordial, civil, and nice. All right, so very quickly, the agenda. We have opening remarks from Jesper, then David Potter from ICIMOD will be going through and giving a bit of an introduction context as to why we're doing this challenge. And I will get into the mechanics after that of the challenge. We'll get into guidelines. And then we have a very special guest from our RAIN challenge, which is the Resilient Agriculture Innovation for Nature in East Africa. So Hamisi Saeed Hincha is here from FSPN Africa, and he shall be sharing his experience of what being part of such a challenge is, and how you can make the most of it, essentially. And then we shall reserve most of the session for Q&A if you have any questions. And it'll be me, Gerald. Gerald's around as well, Gerald David from GRP. And then we have Aoife, who has helped us as a mentor, as an advisor, and has run leadership academies in the past for GRP's challenge funds, who will also help us answer some of the questions if needed. So next up, without going any more into this, I shall hand over to Jesper Hornberg, who's the CEO of GRP.
Thank you, Shuchi, and a pleasure, a privilege to be here with you all here. I have a picture in my head that you are mainly from the region, but maybe also from other parts of the world. As Shuchi was saying, this is an area, a geography we care deeply about, and we as GRP have worked there, but ICIMOD is obviously very well established there, so we really look forward to engaging with you. Just a few very brief opening remarks. We come out of the COP29 process, and I think it's fair to assume that everyone is a little bit frustrated with that process. There is also a lot of good things happening. There is a growing swell of initiatives, which is, I think, very positive, because we need to see a lot more investment going into adaptation and resilience. David will cover this in a little bit more detail, but just want to say that it is very important. So it's very exciting to see so many of you on this call. I think it's important to build an ecosystem. GRP has been around for about 10 years. We work with innovation, we work with knowledge, so a lot of research and learning. We also work with policy, and that is to provide a platform for the thinking from local communities and ideas and new innovation to come to the surface and also be exposed to other opportunities out there, and also to educate everyone in decision-making processes. We've run challenges for many years, and as Shuchi was alluding to, we've as part of that, there is mentoring, there is possibility to get an award, some funding. We also do a leadership academy, basically a training, giving the individuals, the entrepreneurs, more resilience in how they implement and how they do their projects. So that's something we think is very important, and building that ecosystem is critical, because a thriving ecosystem will automatically have a pull of other stakeholders, investors, partners, communities and so on into the same space. And it's by working together we can make things change. And we have to do it together. There's no way we can do it single-handedly. We're very excited to be doing this. I know that my colleagues at ICIMOD are too, and the opportunity to collaborate and combine the sets of experiences that we have with the other people on the call, I think is something that really is exciting. So really look forward to engaging with you as we move forward. Yeah, I'm gonna stop there to give David more time to talk. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Jesper. Hi, everyone. I'm David Potter. I'm the strategic group lead at ICIMOD for our international and regional work. And ICIMOD is the International Centre for Integrated Mountain Development. And we are focused on supporting sustainable mountain development in the Hindu Kush Himalaya. We represent 8 organisations in the region. Yeah, I'm very excited that we have launched this challenge fund. And the idea of this webinar, as Suchi and Jesper have set out, is to give you some more information about the Hindu Kush Himalaya Innovation Fund and how you could apply for it, why you'd want to, and what some of the benefits might be. But to just set a bit of context, we know there's an ongoing and developing climate crisis, and that climate crisis is hitting the Hindu Kush Himalaya more severely than other parts of the world. Climate temperature increases are expected to be double those of the global average in the Himalayas because of the effects of altitude and how that changes the impact of temperature rises. So we have climate change. There's also biodiversity loss impacting the region and increasing challenges with pollution and demographic changes. So we're seeing glaciers melting, we're seeing an increase in the number and severity of floods and flood events, and also high mountain ecosystems are coming under increasing pressure and strain. There's also a lack of investment in the region. Estimates suggest that the region needs between $1.2 and $1.7 trillion by 2030 to respond to the impacts of climate change. In Nepal alone, that translates into a need for $5 billion a year. And at the minute, Nepal is receiving only $500 million a year. So there's a really big gap, an investment gap. That's obviously a problem for the region, but also we think an opportunity for entrepreneurs and for small business, people with small business ideas for the mountain regions. For example, high-value niche mountain products have already been demonstrated in some areas to be very lucrative. Organic foods, there's also sustainable tourism as another potential area. And these great, I hear you say, but also there are big challenges with investing in the mountains and starting businesses in mountain regions. The regions are very fragile. Populations tend to be dispersed across mountain areas, which make it harder to make a business model function when you need a consumer base. And also businesses need more patient capital on average than in other places around the world because of the need to overcome the challenges of mountain regions and also the need to be resilient to mountain shocks, things like floods and droughts that I've mentioned previously. So all of this makes it harder to invest and for investments to flourish. And that's where we want our HKH-ICE fund to step in. And that's the reason why we've set up this fund. Now, the idea of this webinar is to give you some more details in addition to the web-based details and the launch event that we held at COP29, and to give you the chance to ask any questions that you've got about the fund and how it could be accessed. So that's all from me. I'm going to pass back to Suchi for the next part of the webinar. Thanks very much.
Thank you, David. I shall go back to sharing my screens and get into some of the details of HKH-ICE. So essentially, we're looking at three windows that we want uh, a bulk of our innovation and innovative ideas to come from. But this is not to say that we are restricting our funding only to these. If you have an idea that does not really fit in but focuses on climate ecology, and broader challenges around climate and ecology, please feel free to send it across, because we're more than happy to be surprised and excited about any innovation that comes our way. So we're looking at agriculture, water security and resilience, and climate resilient sustainable tourism. So we're looking at models of integrated mountain development that ICIMOD and GRP both want to promote in the region. And these are the three key windows that we're supporting. So anyway, how will we run this challenge is one question that remains, and we have a lot of details in the challenge guidelines, which my colleague Velina shall post in chat. But largely, we're looking at these kinds of support. So we're looking at mentoring and incubation. So ICIMOD, GRP, and an additional set of external mentors with the skill sets of supporting innovation for scale, for the right kind of networks, and ensuring that their pitches are sharpened in ways that they can add value to the region, would be the kind of mentoring we're focusing on here. So we're looking at more deeper mentoring through Jan to March next year, and then around March is when that mentoring will taper down to 4 hours per month. So initially up to March it's 8 hours per month, and then 4 hours per month up to December. So that the phase up to March is to ensure that there's readiness for implementation, and then from April onwards is implementation. So that's how this process works. We do have a leadership academy, which we'd be more than happy to discuss. But essentially, we're looking at an in-person engagement. This would create a milestone of sorts where we all get to know each other, and we all recognize that climate change is a slightly different problem to deal with than a regular corporate for-profit kind of entity that we would be creating. And we are also dealing with a lot of vulnerability that we bring in as leaders in this process. So that's the Leadership Academy, which we shall host in March, most likely. And then we will be through the period of the challenge fund and also beyond. We continue to support our grantees, as you will hear later as well, with pitches, with investor forums, with speaking slots in key events like COP29, like other key events like the Community-Based Adaptation Conference, and so on. So we love to continue engaging with our grantees in whatever way possible. And so you become a part of a larger network of amazing entrepreneurs, amazing folks who are working in this broader climate resilient space. We also provide communication support. A very clear campaign would be developed with the support of the communications team to highlight and amplify the solutions that have been selected in the finals. But this is not to say that something that's not been selected in the finals cannot be promoted. If there's something that's exciting which is not selected, we might still consider for promotion. And finally, MEL support. We have an online help desk for MEL, and we will be supporting the team through feedback and mentoring, and that feeding back into learning and tracking progress for the entrepreneurs. It opened on the 7th, the challenge, and then the deadline has been extended. We are closing on the 6th of December, and then we will be contacting successful applications in January. And between Jan and March, we'll be providing support for further development. Finally, winners will be contracted and announced to the public in March. So there will be a process of due diligence and support that will be provided between Jan and March, but the final winners will be announced post that due diligence once the contracting process is done. And the Leadership Academy, like I mentioned, will take place in March. The eligibility criteria that we're looking at for-profit entities, solutions that do no harm, the importance of gender equity, human rights, and biodiversity considerations, and we're very interested in team dynamics, which have proven experience in the region or in mountain ecosystems overall. And we have a criteria with the region as well. So we're looking at Bhutan, the Chittagong Hill Tract, the Indian Himalayan region, and Nepal. Finally, the evaluation criteria. Again, this is mentioned in detail in the challenge guidelines, and we are more than happy to discuss this later. But we do have very clear criteria around innovativeness, potential for impact, equity, scalability, profitability, sustainability, the team dynamics, and the kind of risk that's associated. So we'll also be looking at the risks that you submit and the kind of risks that you are anticipating, how well you've thought of it, and what are the mitigation measures you're looking at for them. So largely, we're looking at ideas which are pre-seed stage. So and I'll repeat the prize money. So we're looking at a gradation of prize money between $5,000 to $25,000, and we will be ranking all the applications that come in on these evaluation criteria. That's it from me. Before we move on to the all-important part of questions, I will pass on to Hamis here, who will share a little bit about what it's like to be part of our challenges. And please do type in your questions in the Q&A box and in the chat, and we'll take them once we move forward.
All right. Thank you so much, Suchi. I appreciate that. Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure talking to you from different parts of the world. And my task is very simple, actually, to share the experience. My name is Hamisi Saidi Hincha. I am Country Director, FSPN Africa, but also the project lead of CAFESAP, which is carbon farming for agricultural and environmental sustainability and profitability. CAFESAP project, it's an initiative that was picked among the RAIN grantees of 2023 cohort. And as of today, we are happy that we have had like 2 years of engagement with GRP through the RAIN challenge. So the RAIN challenge is resilient agriculture for innovation for nature-based solution in East Africa. So it is an innovation challenge which had a very interesting stage. I'm saying interesting because at first when we started, we thought it's going to be an easy and a simple one, but yeah, it was the same. It was an easy and simple one. The process was as direct as possible. So we started by responding to the call, which was announced immediately after launching the RAIN challenge. And then after that, we're happy that we were shortlisted amongst many projects in East Africa, and FSPN Africa emerged as one of the winners. And we immediately get the feedback and started the mentorship and incubation session, whereby we were provided a mentor who mentored us, who mentored our ideas and how to put it in a functionality and practicability way. And as the mentorship program was going ahead, we dived into one of the amazing sessions, which is the Leadership Academy. whereby the winning projects came together, and it was some sort of peer-to-peer learning opportunity whereby we were taught about leadership, um, working in teams, communication skills, entrepreneurship skills. And of course, from the Leadership Academy, we were able to grasp a lot of information which were absolutely incredible for us to even implement our projects and delivering the impact that we are looking at achieving. After the Leadership Academy, we went ahead by having the mentorship with our mentor, of which they helped us into putting together our technical and financial proposals. And then after that, we were able to get the feedback that we were able to go ahead into the next step after the incredible due diligence, and we received our funds, and immediately we started to implement the project. So basically, the mentorship support doesn't end up there. It is a continuous practice as up to today, as I'm speaking here, and I'm glad that my mentor is also here, Dr. Simoni. Shout out to you. It's interesting to work under you. Thank you so much. So the mentorship actually helped us basically to implement the project towards the proper direction in terms of the progress and of course achieving the impact. And also we were able to get the communication support into creating an illustration, illustration to communicate our project, and also the techniques and strategies and the plans on how to do the communication much better, which is also interesting because not only we are using this knowledge in implementing this CAFESA project, but also we are using it for other communication purpose in other projects. And on top of all, we're also getting a massive support from the innovation lead and the Rain Challenge manager, whereby there's an open door policy where if you have any challenge, any question, any support that you need, you can easily reach out, and they're responding as soon as possible. And that actually had made it easy for us to implement our projects easily and to achieve the deliverables that we've agreed to achieve. After that, as I'm talking today, the project is going on quite pretty well. And this is because of the opportunities that we've been able to get, whereby we've given the opportunity to attend GRP Investor Forum, which was held in the US. And with the support of GRP, we're able to go there fully funded. And we were given a chance to pitch to the world our project, our ideas, so that we expand our impact in front of huge investors who are very thirsty to any innovations around resilience. So that was also another opportunity that when you become a grantee under these GLP challenges, you're able to get. So generally, the monitoring, evaluation, and learning support is usually there, because at some point they're making like periodic reports, some check-ins with the mentor and also with the team, but on top of also visiting the field to get to understand the practicability of the solutions and how it helps. So yeah, now you can connect why I started by saying it's an interesting situation working with the GRP, and until today we have never regretted that. We are counting this as one of the opportunities, and I can confidently say that we've now become not only partners but part of the bigger family who's looking at responding global challenge and making a better world for a resilient planet and the people. So that is the experience, and I'm inviting all of you to go ahead and pick up this opportunity. And I promise you, and you'll remember me forever, that you'll never regret. Thank you so much, and I'm rolling it over to you, Suchi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hamid. This is lovely. Always lovely to hear from previous grantees who share such lovely relationships with not only our team, but also their mentors and the larger network that exists. So we do have questions, which we have also been answering as we go. But there are some that we could take while we're speaking. So, right. So there is someone who's actually asking if they can be allowed to speak, and maybe that's a question for you, Ida, if we can do that, or
Yes,
if we
can do it.
Perfect. Okay. So Hanish Katnawar is actually asking if he has a few questions regarding the form and he would like to speak. Yes, Hanish.
Yeah. Hi. How are you? All good?
All good. Please go ahead with your question.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is that I was filling up the form, and
Yeah.
then I reached the work plan and work plan narrative, and also like a results reporting, and then risks is okay. But I wanted to understand work plan and results reporting, as in like Um, now, when it comes to a work plan, it is to be done in front of a set of investment. Like, for example, when I'm applying for a grant, then I have a number in front of me, like, okay, it is a 100,000 USD grant or something like that. Then I divide the activities accordingly. Now, this is an award. Here, the activities are supposed to be in line with the award money that is going to be won, or should it be our general process, like general activities that we do with the money? Like, what kind of activities should I mention in the work plan? Is it the ongoing ones, or uh, that was my confusion I wanted to clarify.
I think I can turn to Gerald. Gerald, if you have some insights from previous challenges, and Gerald is the innovation lead at GRP, so and has been running challenges for very many years. Gerald.
Yeah, thank you, Ida. And thank you for your question. So, in terms of the work plan, you need to list activities that you anticipate to do within the project. It might be an ongoing solution already that you're implementing and you want to continue to implement, yes, but also it might be a new one that you want to implement as part of this project. So, you need to list those activities that actually align to the objective of the solution that you're offering, and actually that will be implementable in the time frame that has been indicated in the program. So yes, you're right in terms of all that kind of activities that you need to list, but you need to actually be more sort of precise in terms of activities, because you see, it's just a concept at this moment, which means the high level sort of activities that you will be implementing during the challenge period. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, that has answered my question. And the next one is the results reporting GRP and project specific indicators. So, I mean, I could not understand the indicator code and indicator name. I mean, if it is in the guidelines, I can read it from there. But if it is something that needs to be answered here, maybe you can put some light on it also. The indicator code, indicator name, end of the project target, and indicator name may be okay with me, but code, does it require something like a separate set of code, or is it already something predefined? So just something more on this results reporting aspect.
I can take it, Suchi, if I'm audible.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. There should be a hyperlink in the submittable form that will direct you to the GRP indicator framework and guidance. And that defines indeed the two indicators. The two core indicators are people supported and funds leveraged. The core one is the number of people you expect to support with the prize money you may win, and investment leveraged. Also self-explanatory. And I think, but I would urge you to read the indicator guidance, and if you cannot access it, send us an email and we can direct you to it.
All right.
And maybe one final tip
And
on
the
this
last
for other
one is
people.
Sorry?
Yeah, I just wanted to illustrate, for some people, they might say that they will not expect any progress, and that is fine. Setting a target can also be 0. So even though we say you have to set targets for these 2 indicators, they are mandatory. If you don't expect to directly benefit people in this first part of your implementation, the target can be 0 as well. Of course, we hope you will benefit some people or raise some funds. But just to clarify, like if it's mandatory, it does not mean that you need to reach progress in this phase. Sorry for interrupting you.
Understood. And the last section of budget, which is there, as in like in this budget, it is not supposed to be within $5,000 or $25,000. It can be a regular budget, which is in the planned set of activities, which is going. So it is pretty much open. It is specific to us, not specific to the GRP budgeting or something like that, right?
Can try to take that one as well. I think you're free to provide a budget beyond the price amount requested, but in the budget we would request you to very clearly specify what is the amount you're requesting from GRP and what that would be used for. So you can provide more information, but that's the minimum information you would need.
Right, because that question is critical for me, because of course when it comes to a startup point of view, it is not about $5,000 or $25,000. It is about what is going on, and of course our budget is more than that. So I just wanted to clarify if it I mean, did I need to fit into that? Because if I am exceeding and if it reduces my chances of getting shortlisted or selected, then I will actually avoid that rather than, just showing the overall budget like that.
I think we are actually interested to learn about your broad solution. So the plans you have as a project as a whole, and then what is important is that you can provide additional information about the plans you have for next year. But what is important is that you do make it quite clear within that what funding you request of GRP for the 9 months of implementation, and how you will use that.
Okay. All right. That's all from my end. Thank you very much.
Great. I was looking through the questions, and there are a couple of questions that are about specific innovations. So I'm going to club those. KD Sharma is actually asking about mountain grass and how the challenge could support this process of the innovation that they are working on, which is cultivation of grass to sustain a supply chain and create social impact. And there's another one around natural cleaning products, and that does not have a direct link to mountain ecosystems, but links with solid waste. I would club these two. I would say that what we need is a clear innovation in terms of what is the innovation, the broad solution that you are proposing, and how is it going to impact the HKH region. So the solution can be something that's been used elsewhere, that's been replicated elsewhere, but please do keep in the evaluation criteria. So if the solution has been used widely, even in the HKH region, then it's probably not innovative enough for this challenge. But if it is something that's not been used in the HKH region, and you are able to prove the innovativeness of the solution, then we welcome the solution as part of this application process. So I hope that answers both these questions. So like I said, we don't need solutions that are mountain specific, but we do need innovation that is being applied to the region. And we do have challenge criteria, evaluation criteria around innovativeness that you are welcome to go through and ensure that you fit those criteria. Okay, there is more detailed questions around the budget template, and there's one question around does GRP expect us to contribute in part of the budget from our own funds? I think Gerald is typing an answer to that, but Gerald, do you want to say it out loud so that everyone else can hear as well?
Yes, so I was just typing an answer to that. So as you can see on the on the guidelines, but also on the launch, GRP will be contributing to the maximum of 25K. This is the maximum amount of grant which can be given. It can be lower than that, but also it can be up to that 25K. But your project does not necessarily need to be a 25K. So if you're able to complement that GRP grant to successfully implement your project, then that's fine. And also, the idea is that we're giving you a fund to just kickstart your project and actually surface it out there to be seen by other investors to be scaled. So part of what you heard Amis mention about the investor forum, but also matchmaking, is about linkaging to make sure that you have additional or a sufficient fund for you to be able to scale. But for the HKH-ICE grant, it will be a maximum of 25K. But again, you're welcome to provide any complement funds as long as your project requires that. Back to
Great, thank you. Yep, thank you. There's another question around can an agency propose a project to identify and support entrepreneurs in the target area by helping them start climate resilient businesses locally? So basically, we plan to provide business development support to local entrepreneurs. That's the question. So can we grant out? And maybe Simona, do you want to take this question?
Okay, so I mean, if the aim is to turn your advice into a profitable business, then yes. If you're doing this in a way that it would depend on further grant funding, then no.
Perfect, thank you. All right. Is there a start and end line for the project, keeping in mind it is a grant for a project, or are we expected to demonstrate efficacy and then we can continue with scale later? This is a question from Archana. Archana, so the grant, I mean, we will be measuring and tracking this grant period for up to December, but obviously we don't expect the project to end in December. We are hoping that you would continue with scale later, demonstrate efficacy during this period, and continue to scale later. So the end line for the grant period where we will be providing support and MEL would be up to December, but obviously we are not setting this up as a traditional grant process where the project cycle ends and so does the project. We do want to set these projects up for scale as they move forward. All right. Okay, there are a lot of questions around the form itself. So if someone's asking if there is any help around team composition. They are entering a collaboration with a university for research relating to what they will be applying for, and bearing in mind the assessment criteria, prioritizing team experience, yet they need to clarify ownership. So just a second, I lost the question. Sorry. Yeah, maybe it was answered as I was speaking. I can't find it. Right. So in terms of timelines, would it suffice for research to count towards the implementation period and actual business operations as part of scaling? Simona, Gerald, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I can take that. We are funding a project that has identified a problem and has a solution already that need to be tested out then in the market. So if that solution is still in research, which means it hasn't been able to be implemented to support any work on the ground, which means that could not be counted as part of the project implementation. So you'll need to come up with an idea that you've already started or you're about to start in terms of implementation, and we'll be able to provide support that in terms of mentorship to refine your idea to actually address the the problem you want to address, to have the solution fit that kind of problem you want to address, and then to be able to make it in terms of potential for impact, to see where the sort of impact angle is in terms framing to help you on that, but also scaling. So the idea is that actually after that initial period of implementation, which is about a year, you should be able to have a project which is scalable, which can be able, taken out there to the investors to be able to be marketed for scaling. So I would put much efforts in terms of research, because a year is quite very a minimum time for you to be able to do a research and then take the product or the service to the market and prove it and then be able to scale. So I would definitely concentrate on something that has already been researched well. It does address the climate adaptation issues or resilience issues across the Hindu Kush Himalaya region, and it's being able to be implemented going forward. I also saw the question about the use of the budget. We do not dictate in terms of how you want to use the budget, but we would advise you to allocate funds that actually align to the objective of the project, that addresses the issues, and it's well in line with the work plan in terms of what are the deliverables, what are the output you're expecting from the project, and should align that with the budget. But we do not limit in terms of where you should put your budget to, but we do not expect you to go and buy a 4x4 car just to implement the project. But we basically need you to be able to look where exactly the funds will be able to support the project and will be able to provide maximum impact in terms of scaling, but also in terms of the impact we're looking for. And the table can be actually expanded. You do not need to actually limit in terms of sort of activity you want to put in the budget. So you can put as much as line items that you want and provide the narrative of each line item that you want to be funded for.
Great, thank you. So go ahead, Gerald.
I was saying back to you. Those are my answers for the
Perfect.
question.
Great. Thank you. So that probably answers all the questions around budgets. I could see that, Silas, your question around ownership boundaries has moved to answered. So hopefully you've got your answer. But the question is, can we list the university as lead and enterprise as focal contact point? Well, we welcome collaborations between universities and social enterprises. So we're more than happy to have that. But our concern would be that if these are small project prizes and they're meant for the social impact and the for-profit solutions, we would restrict. We would basically view the criteria very strictly around where the money is going and how you've drafted the budget. So we would not want to fund university research from the Innovation Challenge. So maybe if you are able to justify where the ownership boundary and the fact that the money is going for social impact, we're happy for the collaboration, but we would not want the money to be funding research, essentially. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything. Gerald, Simona?
I can add. I mean, I think you're, of course, free to work with universities as much as you want as part of your for-profit enterprise ID and seek support from companies, universities, other partners. But you also questioned who should be the lead partner. And I think if we would receive a proposal from a university which is not for profit, then I think we would be ineligible. So I would strongly recommend you to apply with the enterprise as the lead applicant.
Great. And there's one question around why Pakistan is not in the eligible list. We're sorry. I think it's Sarah. We're sorry. We are constrained by the way our funding structures work, and which is why we've restricted to the countries that we have restricted to and the regions that we've restricted to. So apologies, but maybe in the future, we would be able to consider Pakistan as well. Can pilots for an innovation of the project be considered for funding is a question. Yes, pilots can be considered, but we don't want to create a scenario where the pilot happens and the grant ends and you're not able to scale it up, or you don't have plans of scaling it up because you're dependent on the grant. So we would view the criteria around scaling and viability fairly seriously, and would be interested to know more about what the strategy for scaling is. So if there is potential for scaling, yes, a pilot could be funded from this project. Great. I think
there's another
we
question.
have.
Sushi?
Yes, Gerald.
Yeah, there's another question. Someone saying that I know someone that worked to produce handcrafts and local souvenirs by engaging women in rural area of Nepal, wondering if they're eligible to apply for the challenge. Sushi, you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah, indeed. I mean, if it is a for-profit solution, if it fits the eligibility criteria, they're more than welcome to apply. And we will be, like I said, we will be reviewing the criteria. And like I also shared, we have 3 focus areas, but that's not to say that we will be sticking to only these 3 focus areas, and they're more than welcome to apply. We'll look at the criteria around for-profit, around scalability, and around what are their plans for innovation as well. So yeah, I think we have covered all the questions. Okay, there's one more question around budgets. What does actual versus approved mean on the budget template? Gerald, do you want to take that?
Could you repeat again, Susha?
What does actual versus approved mean on the budget template?
Okay,
or maybe Simona? You've unmuted yourself. Okay, Gerald.
Yeah, sure. So the actual versus approved, I think you need to put your budget figures within the actual, and then once that is actually being reviewed and approved, it will actually be reflected there on the approved. But now you need to concentrate only on what you're planning to do and what amount you want to put on any line item. So yeah, just you can focus now on the actual and just leave the approved part there. That will be for the later stage of the competition.
Great. So yeah, so there's one more question around the grass. Basically, the question that came up earlier around grass used for handicrafts and the fact that this grass takes 2 years. It takes 2 years for this grass to be turned into fiber, and the timeline for the fund use is 9 months. My question is, how do we take this into account for budgeting? Any takers for this question?
I can take it. I mean, yeah, as Tucci already alluded to, we think it's essential you think about sustainability of your project results and an exit strategy and a scaling strategy from the start. So if you apply for this funding and you have a strategy of obtaining further funds, then sure, it's fine. But if you already know that you set up your projects for failure by applying for this grant without any outlook or expectation of future funding, then you might as well not apply. So I think it's your responsibility to make sure that you think about your solution and the sustainability of it.
Great. There's also a question around, is there a preference or restriction on where the grant should be used? Infrastructure, salaries, operations, equipment. We don't have maybe Gerald, maybe you can come in and share your thoughts on this.
I think, yeah, this is the same question I think you addressed. I think it's you.
Exactly.
It's you who need to tell us how you are actually looking to use the grant for the maximum impact of the project. So I think if you think that if the funds should be directed to the infrastructure will have the maximum impact, then that's fine. But I think it's you now who need to tell us how you plan to use that funds that you, if you're a winner, you will be able to use it. So we don't have any restriction in terms of what percentages go to where. So yeah, please just come up with your ideas, and then we'll have a discussion about that once we get to that stage.
All right. I think we have 9 more minutes. We'll probably spend most of it answering the questions and try and answer most questions here. So there's another question around the fact that there is a question around proven experience, and the applicant says, or the potential applicant says, that we don't have experience, so would we get disqualified? I think I shared this answer in chat as well. I typed this down in chat as well very clearly. We welcome new innovators. We need relevant experience. If you are able to justify that you have the skill sets for the kind of innovation you want to do, we welcome ideas around new innovation from someone who doesn't have previous business experience, or someone who has previous business experience but doesn't have climate experience. So, vice versa. We're looking at transferable skill sets. We're looking at, at innovators who are able to think of ideas that may be implementable in the region. So, short answer, you may not get disqualified if you are able to justify this. Gerald, you unmuted yourself. Do you have anything more to share?
No, I think you've just handled it perfectly. Yeah.
Great. Okay, if the project idea has less of an innovation aspect but more of the conservation aspect in building resilience, will it be eligible? So if you go through the criteria, there are very clear criteria around evaluation criteria around what we expect within innovation. So if it is an idea that has been implemented, has never been implemented, that's going to get highest scores. If it is an idea that is being implemented elsewhere in the continent or in the world in similar sort of context, but is being brought to this region specifically, that's going to get a certain score. If this is an idea that's already being implemented in the region, that's going to get a certain score. And then if there's no innovation. So if this conservation idea brings in some form of innovation that's being implemented elsewhere into the region, we will be rating it highly. So we don't think conservation is opposed to innovation. We think conservation can be innovative as well. So please do send in. We would encourage you to apply. And yeah, we don't think of innovation as a very specific tech bracket, and we do think conservation forms a part of innovation as well. So please do apply. Okay, in terms of timelines, would it suffice for research to count towards the implementation period and actual business operations as part of scaling? Gerald, do you want to take that? Simona?
Yeah, I can also take it. This refers to the earlier questions about whether people could apply with a university.
Exactly.
So yes, research conducted like a feasibility study can count towards implementation. But of course, we will be looking at this, whether it's a possibly sustainable, financially profitable solution as well. Just keep that in mind.
Great. I think there was also a question asking for the deadline, the new deadline. I shall repeat that. It is 6th December. So please do submit your entries by 6th of December. You'll also see that the submittable link closes after that. So you will not be able to submit beyond the 6th of December. I think this should be the last question. We will not be able to take any more questions after this, but this says, we are a policy think tank and supporting for innovators in the Highland area for their self-help and climate resilience economic activities. I think, please, what project can we do? Essentially, how can we support them? Well, we are, for this particular challenge, we are supporting for-profit entities. Please do amplify what, as a policy think tank, if you are a for-profit entity, you are welcome to apply, or if you have ideas around for-profit, you're welcome to apply. But we will not be taking any non-profit solutions for this or non-profit entity solutions for this specific challenge. Simona, you want to add something? Yeah.
I think maybe Gerald will say the same, because we've actually just received an interesting application that we decided to fund under the Range Challenge window, where it's an incubator of entrepreneurs. but it's a for-profit incubator. So I think that's it becomes
exactly.
a bit Inception style. Then you would be an incubator with an incubator, and we had a hard time explaining it to our founders. But in the end, the proposal is really good. So it depends on the quality of the proposal and the work you propose to do. Yeah.
Great. I think we are through with the questions. I think Velina is typing an answer to probably the last question. Gerald, do you want to come in here?
I was just pointing out there's a last question about recording. Maybe either of you.
Yeah, I think Velina's typing that question. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure I understand this question correctly. There's one more question, whether we can share our concern and our innovation being a member country of the Hindu Kush Mountains. So the countries are fairly clear. I think that the region is fairly clear that we can accept. So within the eligibility criteria, we have, I shall repeat that, we have the Chittagong Hill Tracts from Bangladesh, the Indian Himalayan region from India, Bhutan, Nepal. So these are the countries that we can support through this project, or regions that we can support through this project. If you fall within these regions, you're more than welcome to submit your innovation and your idea around for this challenge. Yeah.
To just add to that, Suchi, you can also be registered, I believe, in another region, but as long as your implementation is in the regions that Suchi just listed, that's quite critical. We do prefer implementers from and within the region, but I think that's not the restriction is implementation in a specific area.
Absolutely. Great. I think we have gone through all the questions that we had. Thank you, Velina, for answering a lot of them and also sharing questions to me on the side. Thank you, Simona, for taking on these questions. Aoife, thank you for joining and being part of this. And Gerald, thank you so much for answering these questions. Hamis, we're grateful that you could join and stay for the full period, and ICIMOD team as well. David, Shivranjani, the rest of the team that's also probably joining as attendees. And Jesper, thank you for starting us off, and audience, everyone who's asked questions. Thank you so much. We're more than happy to get applications. Please do submit. The deadline's the 6th. And and I think I mentioned I forgot a last thank you. Ida, thank you so much for hosting the whole webinar and making sure this runs extremely well at the back end. So great, thank you. We're hoping that we have more applications that we can handle.